9 p.m.
Good evening and welcome to News 12 at 9. I'm Abby Maynard. Dan has the 9 off. A Cole County bank was robbed this morning by a man who police say hit a bank just days prior in Ardmore. News 12's Sydney Gray spoke with the sheriff, who explains how it all happened.
A Durant man walked into this bank here in Colgate around 9:30 this morning demanding money from the teller, and police say this isn't his first robbery.
He confessed immediately.
Cole County Sheriff Brian Jump tells us 29-year-old Graham Helms came to the Shamrock Bank looking for cash. Helms has a Texas driver's license, but investigators say he was most recently living in Durant.
Passed a note to the teller to give him money, put the money in the sack. That's what he said, I think.
Deputies say Helms left the bank with a Kroger sack full of cash, but his escape was short-lived. A deputy who was overseeing inmates on the side of Highway 31 outside of town spotted Helms' white SUV and called Deputy Nick Davis to pull him over.
When I'm approaching the vehicle, I could recognize it was that guy. So pulled him out of the vehicle, asked him if he had robbed the bank today, and he said, yes, sir.
Deputy Davis says Helms cooperated and was immediately taken into custody. He also tells us Helms confessed to robbing the IBC Bank on Northwest 12th Street in Ardmore.
In the Ardmore robbery, the picture that we had sent from us, he's wearing the exact same clothes and the exact same beanie on his head as the Colgate robbery.
Sheriff Jump says it took his deputies less than 30 minutes to catch him.
I would like to say that it was a joint effort between Cole County Sheriff's Office, Colgate PD, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. It was a team effort to catch him.
An FBI agent tells me Helms will be arraigned in Muskogee in federal court. In Colgate, Sydney Gray, News 12.
One Grayson County Fire Marshal was allowed to resign amid a possible criminal investigation. Commissioners accepted Kevin Walton's resignation at today's meeting after the sheriff rejected his appeal to get his job back. Walton and Assistant Fire Marshal Kerry Price were fired by the sheriff's office last month. They're accused of forging a document pertaining to personal safety gear. Price didn't show up, so he was officially fired today.
I'm assuming the sheriff will be looking for to replace one or both of these gentlemen, but again, this just happened, so I can't really speak to that at this point in time.
Fire investigations in Grayson County are currently being handled by the State Fire Marshal's Office. Medill police say a car they were looking for in connection to an armed robbery at Love's Country Store earlier yesterday morning is no longer a vehicle of interest. The two suspected robbers, who you see here, got away with cash and lottery tickets that weren't yet activated. Police are still pursuing leads. A Minnesota couple is in jail this evening after entering a Garvin County home without permission while high on meth and allegedly smoking the drug in front of the two small children with them. News 12's Andrew Freeman spoke with the homeowner, who tells us what still keeps her up at night.
I was panicked. I kept calling him, and a couple of times he didn't answer, and I'm a mom. Scenarios going through my head.
Monica Gillen found herself rushing home from Pauls Valley Thursday evening after her 23-year-old son called her about strangers at their Wynnewood home.
He said that there was a man in the house bringing clothes in and asked me if I'd let him in, and I said no. And he said, well, he just keeps coming in the house. And I said, call the cops and get him out of there.
She says word of her husband's arrival, a Murray County deputy, scared them off before she even arrived, though their car and belongings remained. But when Garvin County deputies got there, they found one of the suspects, Kim Mendoza, and her 4- and 5-year-old daughters hiding behind their home.
It was horrible. They were dirty and neglected.
Deputies found meth in their car and say Mendoza later tested positive for the drug. The other suspect, Brad Alexander, was found later that evening at a bar down the road and also tested positive.
If adults choose to break the law and they choose to make their decisions, that's one thing. But when it starts to involve the children and infants, that's a whole different class of crime.
I'm heartbroken for all of them, because I know they don't wake up every day wanting to be addicts. It's the girls, them babies, that still have me not able to sleep good at night.
Gillen says they were able to feed and play with the girls until DHS arrived, who deputies say have contacted their family in Minnesota. In Wynnewood, Andrew Freeman, News 12.
The 52 dogs taken from a house in Grant last month are now in the custody of the rescue group that took them in. Choctaw County Sheriff Terry Park says the dog's owner signed over custody to Boswell Pet Rescue. Marjorie Eastwood, who runs the rescue, says the dogs that are healthy enough will be spayed and neutered soon. Eastwood will announce soon when they'll be taking adoption applications for the healthy dogs. No charges have yet been filed against the owner. Sheriff Park says he's meeting with her next week. Well, let's check on weather. It's a cool night for August, and we've got a little rain out there, too. Chief Meteorologist Steve Lenore joins us in the Weather Center with the latest. Steve?
Feels more like an October night, Abby, with just a light rain across Texoma, nothing severe, but enough to make you run the wipers here. As you can see, this batch of rain is moving from the northwest to the southeast, and more rain may develop later on tonight. That would be a little heavier, but again, nothing as far as a severe risk. Look at the temperatures here. On the first night of August, it's 70 degrees, a pretty common number, very unusual for it to be this mild this time of night. Now, the chance of storms will increase a little bit overnight and then drop off again tomorrow. And a big rain event is lurking on the 7-day, Abby. I'll talk about that when I come back.
All right, thanks, Steve. Well, we have new details in the investigation of Ben Vincent, the Tom Bean councilman arrested for intoxicated assault last week. Now, 2 Tom Bean tenants who rent from Vincent are speaking out about an incident in May. News 12's Kristen Weaver has their story.
And next thing I knew, he was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I told him, you know, we'd get the rent paid.
A tenant who rents from Tom Bean City Councilman Ben Vincent says she was shocked when her landlord showed up intoxicated to her apartment, asking for a special rent trade-off.
He said something to the effect of, you know, we could make a trade-off, and I just kind of freaked out when he said that because I took that to mean something not proper.
The tenant and her brother, who want to remain anonymous, say Vincent knocked on their door on May 9th asking for rent. And the man says he told him they were working on getting it paid.
As soon as I say that, he just brushes right past me and walks into her bedroom and shuts the door in my face. More or less.
They tell us after Vincent allegedly asked for the trade-off, the woman jumped out of the room. They say Vincent tried coming back inside.
For every step he took, he was falling down, and I went inside and helped him.
Some neighbors ended up driving him home before police showed up to his door shortly after. Fast forward a few months later. Vincent was pulled over and admitted to drinking a bottle of wine on July 22nd, and the next week was arrested for intoxicated assault. But his lawyer, Bob Jarvis, tells us the incident in May was all a misunderstanding.
It doesn't make any sense that once they get a call and they realize it's a city council member, all of a sudden it turns into this massive investigation over nothing.
That was Kristen Weaver reporting. Vincent's attorney added that once the investigation is complete, he says there will be a completely different side to the story. Well, the driver of an SUV who ran down and seriously injured a Waco police officer was shot and killed this morning. Police say SWAT team and drug enforcement officers were serving a warrant just after 10. The officer was walking toward an SUV after a traffic stop when the driver ran him down and ended up pinning him beneath the car. Other officers opened fire on the suspect and then lifted the SUV off of the officer.
According to the trauma sergeant, the officer sustained significant injuries. The trauma surgeon said that we are headed in the right direction. That's a good thing.
The suspect died at a hospital. Well, coming up on News 12 at 9, a city honors a group of local first responders, what they did for a fellow officer that got them the award. And before we head into the break, we're going to take a look at some viewer photos now. Let's see how people are staying cool in the hot summer weather. You got Grant and Riley kayaking in Lake Texoma. This was submitted by Julie. Next, our next photo, Ray Ray trying to stay cool, submitted by Brandy. That's a cute picture there. In our next photo, we have Nora enjoying her pool. This one submitted by Becky. If you want to be on our show, you can submit your photos at kxii.com/photos. News 12 at 9 will